welcome back to Simply Fajika, a place for budding and aspiring entrepreneurs. If this is the first time you found yourself coming across my content, my name is Fajika and I serve this community as a business mentor, and I ultimately help people achieve receiving their non-medical home care agency licenses. So what I want to talk about today is an offshoot of branding, right? So you have seen a couple of my videos. I talk about how do you market your home care agencies, and a lot of those topics are kind of self-explanatory. The one that I get more questions about is just developing those church relationships, developing those community relationships. A lot of you know the reason why it's important. You may just not know how. So in this video, we're going to discuss what does it take to really build those important relationships that are important both to our agencies, but also to the seniors that we serve. So if that's something that you're interested in, and I hope it is, then stay tuned. So before we jump into today's content, I do want to remind you of a couple of links that will be held within the video description. First is we are building my community. I'm so excited. This is the first time we're launching a community, and I've been doing this, for 4 or 5 years now. So take this as your invitation to not only check out the link, but I'm inviting you to join the community. Secondly, I am launching my home care course. This is something I do annually now, and I only do it once a year. I used to try to do it a couple of times a year, but it just got to be too much. So this one-time event is happening in June. Right now, go ahead and check out the waiting list and add your name there so that as we open enrollment, you will be the first to be notified. Okay. So thank you so much for those announcements. Let's jump on into today's content. So the first thing that I want to talk about is why is it important to develop these relationships? And not so much why, because I think we all get that, but I really want to take the topic below the surface, right? Because a lot of us think that, hey, we really want to get into these church homes because when we talk about where can we find our seniors, we think of the community centers, we think of the churches. What I want to bring your attention to is these are not just churches and senior centers for our seniors. These are like second homes. And for some of us, especially with these adult residential facilities, these senior communities, it actually literally is their home. And so it's important for you to develop those relationships because you can have that access to that senior. But when you think of the church, a lot of our seniors, their churches are like their extended family. It's like their second home. And so you really want to make sure that you show up in that relationship so that you too can be seen as a trusted partner in your community, in the church, and definitely in these areas that you serve. And just to take it a little step further, these spaces for our seniors a lot of times provides that sense of belonging that our seniors are looking for. They act as a place of emotional and spiritual support. And a lot of times, I think we kind of take for granted these places would be the first, if our seniors are struggling at home, they would be the first to know that. And so once that understanding is made, then you want to position yourself as the agency that either that church, that senior, or that senior center reaches out to look for that care for that senior. So what I kind of want to discuss with you is something called shared goals. Now, I'm going to say shared goals, but I'm also going to say benefit, because remember, whenever you're talking to someone, you want to make sure that you have benefits lined up, right? So again, what makes you different? Why is this going to be successful? Why is this something I should even be concerned with at this point? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons. And as we get further into the video, I'll be giving you more benefits that you can potentially use during your conversations. So the first benefit is absolutely just preserving that dignity, really maintaining that senior's ability to live independently, right? So this is making sure that their quality of life doesn't change. Secondly, hopefully we can prevent crises before they happen. And then lastly, we can certainly support our families, because a lot of times it is our families who's taking care of that loved one before they reach out for outside assistance. So it's really important to understand that that family dynamic may be in play, and you're coming in as a potential solution to help all parties involved. Okay, so this is where the meat of today's conversation is going to center around, which is, what does that potential partnership look like? Okay, you finally have busted through the gatekeepers. You finally have someone on the phone, and this person truly seems interested. Why should they work with you? Well, here's a couple of things that your agency may offer. The first is your agency can offer educational workshops. So definitely something that we can talk about is fall prevention. What does nutrition look like? What does putting together a schedule for your senior look like? How to prevent caregiver stress, right? So some of those buzz topics is something where you would come in as a partner, but not only just a partner, but a knowledgeable partner to come in and make the situation better, right? You're coming in as an expert willing to share your expertise. Certainly, you can offer something as a wellness check. And it's funny because when I was initially doing the research to put together this presentation, I remembered actually being a part of this for a church I was serving at the time. So for any of our members, if they had missed a couple of weeks of church, my job was to call in and simply check in on them. Based on what the issue was, we would send baskets, definitely say a prayer with them, maybe send over and organize a couple of meals. So you can see how that may work for your agency. Because what if the person is recovering and they just need a little assistance to get over that hump? This is where your agency will come into play, because that church can then say, oh, you're needing a little assistance? I have just the people for you. Let me go ahead and make sure you're connected. See how that works? Referral support. So remember, initially, the way that you're going to get business is by word of mouth, your inner circle, and referrals, right? So you definitely want to build relationships with these places so that you can get your agency on board as someone, as if someone's talking to someone at these churches, maybe someone's getting ready to be released home and they need a little assistance. Maybe the person lives at a senior care facility, but they just need a little assistance during certain times of the day. If that's the case, you really want to make sure that you are one that these people feel comfortable. As soon as they get the call knowing that our seniors need assistance, the second call should then be to your agency, right? So this is how you're selling yourself. An idea for your agency is you can start promoting and hosting maybe monthly caregiver support groups, right? So not only is this a way for caregivers to be seen, because remember, for those of us, whether you've done it privately for a family member or you have actually done this as a job, this is a hard line of work, right? And so hosting that community support group is really a way for our caregivers to, feel acknowledged, to feel heard, but then that also can serve as another line for you to recruit potential caregivers. If you're seen as that person who really, runs your agency the right way, you hold yourself to a high standard, that's going to be attractive to a caregiver who may be either looking for work or looking to make a change. So again, it's not something you have to do, but it is a way that you could differentiate yourself in this market. Another way that you can team up with your church is just to become a volunteer. So initially it could be that maybe you haven't come up with a professional relationship, but if you start off with, hey, I can help deliver meals, run a couple of errands. As you were running these errands, as you were dropping off meals, you're building a relationship and establishing trust that may convert into business. The last thing I want to share with you is, remember, when you're first starting off, you don't have a lot of people to vouch for you. You don't have a lot of people to say, yes, you want to trust Fajika and her agency, because you're just starting out. So as you build those relationships, as you start actually having activities and things that you're responsible for, remember to collect some success stories along the way, because you can start using those success stories so that your history can speak for itself. And again, that just helps a person make a decision in terms of, are you someone they truly want to partner with? If you know me, I like to leave you with some action steps, because I really want to make sure that for those of you who come to me, you're really wanting to do this, and you sometimes just don't know what those next steps are for you in your journey. And so I've come up with a couple to help you out along the way, okay? Here's a couple of items that you can do just to get started. So the first is identify a point of contact. And to make this easy, identify a point of contact at a church you're familiar with. So either a church that you attend regularly, or a church that you may be in close proximity to because of a family member or a friend. Secondly, understand their calendar. See what events they have coming up. Do any of those events seem like a good fit for you or your agency, and where you could potentially collaborate with that church? Remember, start small. Don't jump in and say, hey, I'm in charge of career day, right? Because at this point, you're really building. You're really getting your feet wet, so you can kind of even understand what your gifts are, right? Because, not all ministries are yours, right? So really volunteer so you can understand what you're good at, what your gifts are, and then try to match up those gifts to the church's needs. Then you can understand what are some potential events that you can sign up for, collaborate with, or even own. And then last but not least, you want to stay in communication. Don't be disappointed if there's nothing for you right away. But stay in communication, because this is how you build trust. This is how you show that you're just not a fly-by-night. You're really someone that's trying to make a difference in the community that you serve. Okay, so that's all that I have for this video. If you enjoyed this video, I would welcome you to liking the video, subscribing to this channel, and then hitting that bell notification so that you're notified each and every time I drop a new video. Now, if you know other community members, other people who are really looking for good home care content, share this content with them, okay? I definitely welcome you to the channel. So that is all I have for you all today. Stay blessed.